My name is Katerina Kostrova, and I'm a deputy chief of our organization, so I'll tell something about it. It is a Ukrainian political organization towards the legal registration of the left political party based on the principles of democratic anti-capitalism, feminism, and eco-socialism. Our main focus always been on labor rights, supporting independent trade unions, and fighting together against persistent deregulation attempts, and also for better working conditions. Whatever was needed the most, we were there: legal aid, media support, organizing street actions and solidarity. Over the years, we managed to establish strong ties with miners, railway workers, construction workers, crane operators, nurses, and trolleybus drivers. Before the full-scale Russian invasion started 24 February 2022, Sotsialnyi Rukh always called for a ceasefire on Donbas and stressed the need for peaceful reintegration of the Ukrainian territories occupied by Russia in 2014 in Crimea and eastern Donbas. At the moment, we see no other way to protect life, future, and dignity of Ukrainian working people than to fight against the Russian army and force it to lose this war. Members of Sotsialnyi Rukh are now fighting in the ranks of armed forces of Ukraine and territorial defense, involved in various humanitarian activities to support refugees, civil population, and defenders of Ukrainian cities. Myself, I had to leave my home city, fleeing from Russian missiles, and I became a forced displaced person inside my country. Now I still stay in Ukraine, and as feminist I mostly work to help women and children and people with mental disorders. We provide hygienic supplies and medicine, legal and information support for them. So if you'll have any questions to me about our organization or any internal situation of Ukraine, you can find me somewhere here and ask them.
Tervehdys toverit. Meillä on kunnia olla täällä tänään. I wanted to use my time to talk about a few important points. Significance of international solidarity and the future of Ukraine we're aspiring to. First of all, I'm extremely grateful for all left parties and movements that express their solidarity with the people of Ukraine. It provides enormous amount of moral support, knowing that you're not alone in the struggle. And to all others who are still having doubts or trying to find the words, I want to call not to ignore our voice. Don't try to look at the conflicts through geopolitical perspectives, looking who is winning from this war. Like every conflict in the world could have multiple stakeholders. If you're talking about Ukraine, ask Ukrainian people, first of all, how they see it and what's their future. Don't call for de-escalation or capitulation of Ukraine for just an abstract peace. We know what it means. We know that Ukraine losing the war means arms race in Europe. It means a lot of territories with thousands of people occupied, suffering under oppression. Refusing support now, you're pushing Ukraine towards the right wing, or people who are willing to provide their support, but on their own conditions. So don't push us away, and please recognize the agency. There are many ways to express solidarity. There is a way to deliver humanitarian aid, and there is already an initiative, International Workers' Aid, that are sending convoys directly to the left and trade union activists in Ukraine. The informational solidarity platform. There was a movement established with support of Razum Party, the Red Green Alliance, and vasemmistoliiton, as many Eastern European movements joining, European Left Solidarity Platform. You can subscribe and spread the news by European Network for Solidarity with Ukraine. You can sign petitions, you can spread the message, and it would be enormous help. Anything you can do as individuals and organization counts. What we want to see in the future is obviously a fairer country, a socially oriented country, a country that defended itself, that defeated the enemy and became a more cohesive and more egalitarian society. We see it as a chance of rebuilding a social Ukraine. And we need your help as well in this, because we recognize that our government is not the best. It can be cynical, it can be corrupt, it can be manipulative. But what they are forced to do, they're forced to do by people as well, and they proclaim their aspiration towards Europe and European standards. And what these European standards would be, it also depends on the voice from Europe. So don't let them to be some new neoliberal agenda. We are fighting now, and the project Through the Barona, we are trying to support legal aid, provide legal aid to workers. We are trying to fight the regulation of the labor law, which our government is trying to push now, despite that it's in contradiction with multiple ILO conventions, with European Social Charter, even with the very own association agreement with the European Union. So your pressure, your voice is important in this case. As been mentioned many times, Ukraine has an incredible amount of debt that it has to pay, and it's simply unfair for a country destroyed by the war to pay it back. We're still fighting the war. We need a lot of money. It costs so much, and at which cost someone expects this debt to be paid? In our country, we still have the rich people who don't like to pay taxes, and before the war, it was a normal situation for them to use European Union, closing their eyes, turning their blind eyes to them hiding their money in offshores, including the European Union countries. So it's not only about Russian oligarchs. We do not want you to tolerate Ukrainian oligarchs either. And finally, our movement is emerging. Our movement is weak, coming after the crisis of 2014, and we need your support as well. Share your knowledge, share your expertise as activists, as trade unionists, to build a strong and left-leaning movement in Ukraine. Finally, as people living in the European Union, you can always take a look at the situation with refugees, who mostly women and children, who are under extreme risk and vulnerability of being exploited and abused. Quite often they come from ordinary families. Not even everyone has university education. They might not know the laws, they might not know the language. So if you see any opportunity to help them, please use it. And finally, I don't want to underline that we don't demand any special treatment. We don't want to justify imperialism in the West. We're just trying to survive. We're trying to be heard and trying to have our right to exist acknowledged. And being given a platform to speak, we recognize that our responsibility to bring up the voice of other oppressed people. We express our solidarity with the people of Kurdistan and Palestine fighting for their own freedom. Kansainvälinen solidaarisuus. Kiitos.